Welcome to Stories to Send You to Sleep. My channel is a place where stories slowly unfold, with soothing visuals and a gentle voice, encouraging you to relax and drift gently into a peaceful state of mind. Here we explore the quiet rhythms of everyday life in times past, the small moments, the simple rituals, the stories that whisper beneath the grand events. Today, we'll embark on a journey into the world of tea and how it became such a hit in England. Popularised by the English monarchy, it's remained a staple of English culture. So now, let's discover how such a simple drink became a comforting ritual of connection and calm. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Now let us drift into a world where time slows, and this story becomes a gentle companion on your path to a blissful sleep. In the mid-17th century, England was a nation in transition. The Restoration had brought Charles II back to the throne, and with him, his Portuguese bride, Catherine of Braganza. Catherine loved tea, and so she introduced this delicate beverage to the English royal court. Initially, tea was a rare commodity imported from East India. Its high cost made it a luxury for the wealthy, often enjoyed in the privacy of the royal chambers. The ritual of tea drinking was not just about the beverage itself, but the ceremony surrounding it. In the early 18th century, tea began to seep into the broader fabric of English society. The heavy taxes imposed on tea led to a flourishing black market, with smugglers bringing in contraband tea leaves. Despite the illegality, the demand for tea grew, and by the end of the century, it had become more accessible to the middle class. The act of brewing tea became a domestic ritual. Women, often in the privacy of their homes, would prepare the tea, steeping the leaves with care and serving it in their best china. The kitchen, once a place of mere sustenance, transformed into a space of comfort and connection. Now, the journey of the teapot and cups begins far from England, in the misty mountains and rolling hills of China. For centuries, Chinese artisans perfected the craft of porcelain. Delicate, yet surprisingly resilient, their porcelain wares were prized possessions, treasured for their ethereal beauty and fine craftsmanship. Painted with intricate patterns of blossoms, birds, and dragons, each piece was a miniature work of art. The Chinese tradition of tea drinking was one of ceremony and contemplation, and the English embraced this sensibility with reverence. As demand grew, England began to develop its own porcelain industry. Factories in places like Worcester, Derby, and later Stoke-on-Trent became centres of innovation and artistry. English porcelain took on its own character, lighter, often adorned with English flora like roses, lilies, or ivy, painted in soft pastels or deep cobalt blues. The teaware was often accompanied by fine, solid silver utensils. Silver spoons, sometimes engraved with family crests or initials, rested beside the teacups. Tea strainers were another essential piece of the set. Loose tea leaves were brewed in the teapot, and strainers made sure no stray leaf made its way into the perfect cup of tea. These strainers were often ornate, with delicate pierced patterns and sometimes gilded. For sugar, small ornate porcelain bowls were placed on the table, allowing each guest to take however much they wanted. The presence of sugar reflected changing tastes over time. Early teas were often bitter, and of course sugar softened the taste. Tables would be adorned with layers of texture and beauty. A crisp handmade lace tablecloth spread over the top, delicate and complex, with tiny flowers and leaves woven into the fabric. On top, polished silver trays held the teapot, cups, and accompaniments. Flower arrangements were often simple and understated, a small vase of fresh garden flowers like lavender, lilacs, or wild roses. Each element of the tea set was placed with intention. The teapot would sit centrally, easy for the hostess or guests to reach. Cups aligned carefully on saucers, their handles turned just so, inviting the hand to wrap around it. By the mid-18th century, tea had woven itself into the daily lives of many English households. The afternoon, usually a time of rest or labour, acquired a new rhythm, a pause in the day to enjoy tea. In the countryside, the act of making tea was often a communal affair. Families would gather around the hearth, the kettle gently steaming, as they shared stories. Tea gardens became popular venues where people could enjoy their tea in the company of others. These gardens were often adorned with flowers, fountains, and shaded seating, providing a tranquil escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. The ritual of tea drinking was not just about the beverage, but the atmosphere it created, the clink of the teaspoon against the cup, the soft murmur of conversation, and the gentle steam rising from the teapot, all contributed to a sense of serenity. The 1840s marked a significant shift in the English tea-time tradition. Anna, the Duchess of Bedford, found herself experiencing a sinking feeling in the late afternoon. To alleviate this, she began requesting a tray of tea, bread and butter, and perhaps a slice of cake, to be brought to her private sitting room. The Duchess invited friends to join her, and soon afternoon tea became a fashionable event among the English aristocracy. It was an occasion to showcase fine china, silverware, elegant attire, and refined manners. The setting for afternoon tea was as important as the refreshments. Drawing rooms were arranged with low tables, comfortable seating and soft lighting. The atmosphere was one of quiet elegance, a stark contrast to the more formal and often austere dinner gatherings they usually attended. As the tradition spread, it was adapted to suit various social classes. The middle class embraced the ritual, hosting their own afternoon teas with modest yet charming settings. The essence of the tradition remained the same, a small relaxing break from everyday life. The early 19th century saw the introduction of various treats to accompany tea. Spongy crumpets, with holes that captured melted butter, became a favourite. Their warm, yeasty aroma would fill the kitchen, toasted over an open fire. Soon scones served with clotted cream and jam would become synonymous with afternoon tea. The ritual of breaking the scone, spreading the cream and jam, was seen as particularly pleasurable. Finger sandwiches, typically filled with cucumber, were introduced as a light addition. In the grand houses of the English upper classes, afternoon tea was much more than a snack. It was an occasion steeped in rituals and social rules. The aristocracy used tea to weave bonds of family, alliance, and society. Invitations to tea were both a pleasure and a form of social currency. Tables were lavishly set with the family's finest china, often heirlooms handed down through generations. Silver teapots gleamed under soft light of crystal chandeliers. Servants in crisp uniforms moved quietly behind the scenes, ensuring a seamless event. The food mirrored the refinement expected. Delicate finger sandwiches with fillings like smoked salmon, watercress and egg, pastries decorated with precision, and scones served with clotted cream and strawberry jam. The tea itself was brewed to perfection, often a blend of black tea with hints of bergamot or spices. In these settings, the act of drinking tea became an art of manners, subtle gestures, careful conversation topics, and the slow, deliberate handling of cups and saucers. This was a time to observe etiquette, read social cues, and reinforce one's place in the social hierarchy. As the 19th century progressed, and the Industrial Revolution transformed England's economy and society, the burgeoning middle classes began to embrace afternoon tea as a symbol of sophistication and gentility too. For these families, tea was an aspirational ritual, a way to emulate the upper class and claim a place in society's evolving structure. They carefully cultivated their own versions of tea time. Tables were set with china, often purchased in sets, specifically treasured for special occasions. Homemade cakes and sandwiches were prepared, often following published recipes in popular cookbooks. This whole ritual became a way to teach children manners and social grace. In towns and cities, tea rooms blossomed as social spaces for the middle classes. These establishments provided an elegant, yet accessible environment where people could gather, converse, and enjoy a moment of respite from daily duties. Women in particular liked this aspect. For the working classes, the ritual of afternoon tea was a lot more modest, yet no less meaningful. Long hours in factories, mines, or farms left little time for leisure, so tea provided a vital moment of nourishment and reprieve. The tea itself would be stronger than that made by high classes, often brewed in large quantities, sometimes mixed with a little milk or sugar to stretch its flavour. Accompaniments were simple: bread and butter, perhaps a piece of fruit or a homemade bun. In working-class households, tea time was a practical pause, a moment to gather family members and share in each other's warmth. Despite economic constraints, the ritual held emotional significance and got them through the harder days. Communal tea gatherings, whether in small kitchens or local pubs, fostered social bonds and mutual support. The simplicity of the fare did not diminish the comfort it provided. On the contrary, it highlighted the resilience and close-knit nature of the community. In grand houses where afternoon tea was a spectacle, the servants who prepared and served the tea also had their own quieter, less visible tea rituals. During breaks from their demanding duties, servants gathered in kitchens or servants' halls to share a simple cup of tea and a bite to eat. These moments were often brief but deeply cherished. A break from work accompanied by an opportunity to exchange news and stories. For servants, the tea was often coarse, sometimes mixed with leftovers, yet for them, it made it no less enjoyable. Through all these variations, afternoon tea served as a subtle mirror reflecting social structures, values, and daily rhythms. It spoke of aspiration and tradition, practicality and elegance, community and solitude. While afternoon tea is often imagined as a quintessentially posh ritual, its practice has quietly blossomed in various forms across the regions of England and beyond. Each place, with its own unique landscape, history, and local customs, lends subtle character to the way tea is enjoyed. Nestled among rolling hills and honey-coloured stone cottages, the Cotswolds embodied an idyllic English countryside. Here, afternoon tea was often a serene outdoor affair, served in shaded gardens filled with roses and lavender, though it all depended on whether the weather behaved. Local Cotswold bakeries supplied buttery scones, sometimes enriched with a hint of local honey or wild berries, served warm with thick clotted cream. Accompanying these were sandwiches made from crusty, freshly baked bread with simple fillings like cucumber, smoked salmon, or ham from nearby farms. Teapots were often heavy stoneware, earth-toned and robust, reflecting the rustic surroundings. Travelling north to Yorkshire, which is known for its rugged moors and historic textile towns, Yorkshire's tea tables often featured strong, robust brews, brewed longer to meet the needs of workers returning from long days in the mills or fields. Here, tea was typically served with thick slices of bread and butter, often accompanied by locally made jams or preserves. The scones were denser, with a golden crust, perfect for holding a generous number of toppings. The teaware was more functional than decorative: sturdy china cups and practical silverware that withstood daily use. Tea rooms in Yorkshire towns often doubled as community hubs, places where neighbours met to share news and enjoy moments of respite from work. As we glide along the rugged coast of Cornwall, we see that their afternoon tea carried its own special distinction: the famous Cornish cream tea. This variation focuses on simplicity and local ingredients. Fresh scones served with clotted cream and strawberry jam, alongside a pot of strong black tea. There is an ongoing debate between Cornwall and its neighbour Devon as to whether the cream or jam goes first on the scone. The Cornish tradition favours jam first, then cream. In Devon, tea was often enjoyed in seaside cottages or quaint village tea rooms, with the sound of waves and gulls harmonising in the background. Crossing into Scotland and Wales, afternoon tea adopted subtle variations influenced by Celtic culture and local fare. In Scotland, the tea was accompanied by oatcakes or shortbread, their buttery richness perfectly complementing a cup of robust black tea. Welsh teas often include bara brith, a traditional fruit bread soaked in tea, sliced thinly and buttered. This humble treat brought a sweetness and texture unique to the region. Though these regional customs highlighted diversity within the United Kingdom, the ideal of afternoon of tea spread far beyond, influencing colonial outposts and countries around the world. From India to Australia, Canada to South Africa, the ceremony of tea adapted, blending itself with local ingredients and customs. The ritual of afternoon tea, steeped in history and gentle customs, has gracefully journeyed into the present day, evolving with changing lifestyles, tastes, and cultural influences. Though the pace of modern life is much faster, the essence of afternoon tea continues to hold its charm. In earlier centuries, afternoon tea could stretch across hours in grand drawing rooms or bustling tea houses, whereas today, the demands of work, family, and technology mean that tea time is often more compressed, a brief interlude instead. Yet even in this shorter form, the ritual remains meaningful. For many, afternoon tea serves as a moment to step away from screens and schedules. This change reflects a broader modern mindfulness movement where small habits help anchor daily life amid its many distractions. Modern tea time often blends the classic with the contemporary. While some favor heirloom china and silver, others embrace minimalist designs, sleek ceramic cups and delicate glass teapots, showcasing the color of the brew. Innovations such as electric kettles and tea infusers make preparation easier without sacrificing quality. Loose leaf tea remains popular, but tea bags and ready-to-drink options have expanded accessibility. Alongside this, artisanal and specialty teas, white, green, oolong, and herbal blends have grown in popularity, inviting new palates to the tea table. Afternoon tea menus now reflect a wider variety of tastes and dietary needs. Gluten-free scones, vegan pastries, and sugar-free jams appear alongside traditional treats. Savory offerings may include international flavors or health-conscious ingredients, broadening the sensory experience while honoring the ritual's inclusive spirit. Across towns and cities, tea rooms and cafes continue to be cherished spaces, some steeped in history, others newly inspired. Pop-up tea bars, themed afternoon teas, and tea tastings introduce creativity and social engagement, attracting diverse audiences. Through all its changes, the essentials of afternoon tea remained. Whether enjoyed in a grand hall or a cozy kitchen, whether steeped in tradition or freshly imagined, it invited us to slow, savor, and share. Tea's gentle evolution is a testament to its timeless appeal, a quiet sanctuary in an ever-changing world. In India, the British colonial presence introduced afternoon tea, but local adaptations transformed it deeply. The robust Indian chai, black tea brewed strong with spices such as cardamom, ginger, and cinnamon, reflects the region's love for bold, warming flavors. Though chai is often consumed as a quick, everyday pick-me-up, special occasions see more leisurely chai times, accompanied by sweets like jalebi or samosas. Indian tea stalls, vibrant with chatter and clinking glasses, offer a communal pause that echoes the spirit of afternoon tea with a livelier rhythm. Yet in some urban homes and high-end hotels, the English-style afternoon tea persists, blending delicate sandwiches and scones with the warmth of Indian hospitality. While Japan's tea traditions, centered on matcha and the centuries-old tea ceremony, differ markedly from English afternoon tea, the introduction of black tea inspired new customs. Modern Japanese tea salons often blend Western and Japanese aesthetics, offering both matcha and black teas, alongside light cakes and sandwiches. The shared value of mindfulness and grace links both traditions. Japanese afternoon tea experiences emphasize harmony, attention to detail, and serene environments. In Australia and New Zealand, the English afternoon tea tradition took root early, evolving into a beloved social custom. Tea was often enjoyed with casual spirit. Scones, lamingtons, and pavlova might appear alongside finger sandwiches. The ritual functioned as a relaxed gathering, a chance for friends and family to connect in cozy homes or sunny gardens. Canadian tea time reflected its multicultural landscape. English-style afternoon teas remained popular, especially in historic cities like Victoria or Toronto, where tea rooms offered both classic and modern interpretations. Indigenous influences, as well as waves of immigration, introduced new ingredients and flavors, maple syrup in pastries, herbal infusions from native plants. This all added a distinct Canadian touch. Essentially, tea became a canvas for blending histories, cultures, and tastes in a single shared moment. In South Africa, the native rooibos plant offered a naturally caffeine-free alternative to black tea. Rooibos tea, with its rich, earthy flavor, was often enjoyed in typical tea settings, paired with local baked goods. The tradition of sharing tea in South Africa embraced community and storytelling, a warm, grounded counterpart to the English ritual. Tea time can be both a reflection of colonial history and a celebration of Indigenous heritage, blending the two with gentle respect. From the bustling streets of Mumbai to the tranquil gardens of Kyoto, from sunlit verandas in Sydney to cozy parlours in Cape Town, the ritual of afternoon tea travels softly, adapted, embraced, and transformed. As we come to the close of this quiet exploration, it feels fitting to pause and reflect on the enduring legacy of afternoon tea and the happiness it brought through both centuries and continents. Afternoon tea is a living thread woven through the fabric of daily life. It carries the gentle imprint of countless hands setting tables, pouring steaming cups, and sharing soft words. Its legacy is found in the small moments: the softness of a tablecloth, the delicate clink of china, the sweetness of cream on a scone. These quiet details, repeated and cherished, create a timeless sanctuary amid life's ever-turning tide. At its heart, afternoon tea offers a form of meditation. It asks us to be present and to engage our senses fully. The aroma that drifts upward, the warmth that hugs our hands, the flavors that unfold gently on our tongues, all anchor us in the here and now. This mindful sipping becomes an act of self-care and connection, a way to center ourselves and find peace amidst the noise. In this way, afternoon tea remains as vital now as ever, a quiet invitation to breathe deeply and savor life's subtle beauty. As traditions evolve and life's rhythms shift, the essence of afternoon tea endures. It adapts gently, inviting new generations to discover its embrace. And so, the ritual continues, a soft, steady pulse of grace and calm, inviting us always to pause, to savor, and to connect. Now, here are some tea facts for you, little musings to drift off to. Let yourself sleep deeply and dream peacefully. Tea is the second most consumed drink in the world. Only water is consumed more than tea globally. All true tea comes from one plant. Black, green, white, oolong, and pure teas, it doesn't matter. They all come from the Camellia sinensis plant. Their differences stem through how the leaves are processed. Tea bags were invented by accident. In the early 1900s, a New York tea merchant sent samples in silk bags. Customers dunked them directly in water, and the tea bag was born. The British didn't always drink tea. Tea only became popular in the UK in the 17th to 18th centuries. Before that, ale or gin was much more common. China has been drinking tea for over 4,000 years. According to legend, Emperor Shen Nong discovered tea around 2737 BCE when leaves blew into his boiling water. The Boston Tea Party wasn't just about tea. It was a protest against British taxation. colonists dumped 342 chests of tea into the harbour, worth around $1.7 million today. In Tibet, tea is served with butter and salt. Known as po cha, this tea is rich and warming, perfect for the cold Himalayan climate. There's a Guinness World Record for the largest tea bag. It weighs over 550 pounds, 250 kilograms, and can brew 100,000 cups of tea. Tea was once used as currency. In ancient China, tea bricks were used as money for trade in remote regions. High tea isn't what most people think. It's not fancy. High tea was a hearty evening meal for workers, while afternoon tea was the elegant affair for the upper class. Iced tea was invented at a hot summer fair. Specifically, at the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis, hot tea vendors struggled in the heat, so one added ice, and iced tea became a hit. Tea was once considered a medicine. Ancient Chinese texts praised tea for curing fatigue, improving eyesight, and even lengthening life. The word tea comes from two main Chinese dialects: cha from Mandarin, e.g. chai in India, Russia, and Turkey; te from Minnan, e.g. tea in English and Dutch. How a country says tea often reflects how they originally got it, by land, cha, or sea, te. Some tea leaves can be resteeped multiple times, especially oolong and pu'er teas. Each steep releases new flavors and aromas. Tea helped shape afternoon fashion. In Victorian England, afternoon tea parties were social events with special tea gowns, lace gloves, and fancy etiquette. Matcha was used by samurai before battle. In Japan, it was part of Zen Buddhist rituals. Samurai drank it for focus and calm energy. There's a global tea museum in Sri Lanka. The Ceylon Tea Museum showcases the country's rich tea legacy. Sri Lanka is one of the world's biggest producers. Monkey-pick tea is a thing, kind of. Legend says trained monkeys once helped harvest wild tea in hard-to-reach places. Today, monkey-picked just means very high-quality tea. Russians traditionally use a samovar. A samovar is a large, ornate metal container used to boil water for tea. It's a centerpiece of Russian tea culture. Instant tea has been around since the 1940s. The US Army developed it during World War II for soldiers. Just mix with water. Queen Catherine of Braganza made tea trendy in England. She was Portuguese and brought her love of tea to the English court in the 1660s, kickstarting Britain's tea obsession. Tea plants can live over 100 years. Some wild tea trees in Yunnan, China, are over 1,000 years old, still producing leaves. There are two main varieties of the tea plant. Camellia sinensis, used in Chinese green and white teas, and Camellia sinensis assamica, used in bold Indian teas like Assam and breakfast blends. Pu'er tea improves with age, much like wine. This fermented tea from China can be aged for decades and becomes more complex over time. Tea typically has less caffeine than coffee, but that's not always the case. While a typical cup of tea has less caffeine, matcha or yerba can pack quite a punch. Chai just means tea in many languages, so saying chai tea is like saying tea tea. The spiced Indian drink is properly called masala chai. There's a tea horse road in China. It's an ancient trade route where tea was carried on horseback across mountains to Tibet and beyond. Bubble tea started in Taiwan in the 1980s. Also called boba tea, it began as a fun mix of tea, milk, and chewy tapioca balls, now a global craze. In Morocco, tea is poured from up high. Mint tea, in particular, is poured from a height to aerate it and create foam. It's part of the ritual and hospitality. The milk in first debate is historic. In Britain, this was once a class marker. Upper classes poured tea first. Finer porcelain could handle heat, while others poured milk first to prevent cracking cheaper cups. India is one of the world's largest tea producers, especially in Assam, Darjeeling, and Nilgiri regions, each known for distinct flavors and global demand. The British used tea gardens for socialising. In the 18th century, tea gardens were like early cafes or parks, places where men and women could mingle freely. Turkey drinks more tea per capita than any other country. On average, each Turk drinks over 1,200 cups per year, served in small tulip-shaped glasses. Kombucha is fermented tea. Tea is made by fermenting sweet tea with a SCOBY, symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. It's tangy, fizzy, and probiotic rich. Tasseography is the art of reading tea leaves. This form of divination interprets patterns left in a cup of loose-leaf tea to predict the future. Green tea can help cool you down. Paradoxically, drinking hot green tea may trigger your body's cooling mechanisms more efficiently in heat. The world's most expensive tea is made from panda poop. In China, a rare green tea fertilized with panda dung can sell for thousands of dollars per pound, supposedly rich in nutrients if you're brave. In Korea, tea ceremonies focus on harmony. The dari, tea etiquette tradition, values calm, respect, and seasonal awareness, often using delicate green teas. Some teas are smoked. Lapsang Souchong, a black tea from China, is dried over pinewood fires for a distinctive smoky flavor. Gunpowder tea has nothing to do with explosives. It's a green tea rolled into tiny pellets that resemble gunpowder. When steeped, they unfurl dramatically. The color of tea depends on oxidation. Green tea, unoxidized. Oolong, partially oxidized. Black tea, fully oxidized. The longer the leaves are exposed to air, the darker and bolder the tea becomes. There's a tea that's blue. Butterfly pea flower tea from Southeast Asia brews a vivid blue color and turns purple with lemon juice. Tibetan monks meditate with tea. The caffeine and theanine in tea help monks stay alert and calm during long meditations. Some teas are rolled by hand into artistic shapes, like jasmine pearls or dragon balls, crafted with great skill to unfurl beautifully in hot water. Afternoon tea was invented to fight hunger pangs. In the 1840s, the Duchess of Bedford started having tea and snacks in the late afternoon, and a social tradition was born. Some cultures add salt and butter to tea, not just Tibet. In Mongolia and parts of Central Asia, salty milk tea is also a thing. Darjeeling is often called the champagne of teas. Grown only in the Darjeeling region of India, it has a light, floral, muscatel flavor prized worldwide. There are entire forests of wild tea trees. In Yunnan, China, you can find ancient, wild-growing tea forests that are considered sacred by local ethnic groups. Teapots weren't originally used in China. Early Chinese tea was brewed right in the cup or bowl. The teapot came later, likely during the Ming Dynasty. You can brew tea cold. Cold brew tea is made by steeping leaves in cold water for several hours. It's smoother and less bitter than hot brewed tea. The first book on tea was written in the 8th century. Chinese writer Lu Yu authored The Classic of Tea, Cha Jing, around 760 CE, the world's first tea manual, covering cultivation, brewing, and philosophy. In Japan, there's powdered roasted green tea called hojicha. It's roasted over charcoal, giving it a toasty, nutty flavor and lower caffeine, perfect for evenings. The phrase, "not for all the tea in China," means never. It's a saying in English-speaking countries, referencing China's historical role as the epicenter of tea trade and immense value. Tea was once so valuable, it was stored in locked chests. In 18th century Britain, fine tea was a luxury item, and wealthy families often kept it under lock and key in special tea caddies. A Japanese tea master could be a national treasure. Some tea ceremony masters are declared living national treasures by the Japanese government for preserving cultural heritage. The record for most cups of tea made in an hour is 1,848, set by a team in the UK. That's over 30 cups per minute. There's a tea that tastes like chocolate, Cacao husk tea is made from the shells of roasted cocoa beans. It's caffeine-free, chocolatey, and full of antioxidants. You can cook with tea. Use matcha in cakes and lattes. Use lapsang souchong to smoke meats. Use Earl Grey to infuse cream sauces and desserts. In Iran, tea is often served with sugar cubes in your mouth. You don't stir sugar into the tea. Instead, the sugar cube is held between the teeth. Tea is then sipped through it. Tea was so influential it contributed towards 2 wars. The Opium Wars, 1839 to 42, 1856 to 60, between Britain and China, were rooted in the tea for opium trade imbalance. Now, thank you for joining me on this journey through the history and heart and tea. May your own moments of tea be filled with warmth, presence, and quiet joy. Sweet dreams.